Hello, everybody. Welcome to another Inspiration Piece episode with Art Whisper 88. Now, today's focus is on pioneer artist Helen Frankenthaler. She was born in Manhattan in 1928 and she lived until 2011. And she was an American painter and printmaker known for her unique method of staining canvas with thin veils of color. Her practice can be seen as a bridge between the abstract expressionists of the 1950s and the color field painters of the 1960s. Now, I find it very difficult to summarize an artist of this magnitude, to summarize their accomplishments in a few sentences, because the more I dive deeply into their biography, the more complicated and fascinating it is. But I will put a link in the description box for her biography and her massive body of work, which is collected all over the world. So my inspiration piece today is a light-hearted title called Tutti Frutti. It's an enormous painting in the collection of the Buffalo Art Museum, and it has these wonderful bright colors. I chose it because it's a very optimistic painting, and right now in the dark, cold days of winter, it's nice to look forward to the promise of spring and of better days ahead. Without further ado, let's dive into it. Okay, let's get right into it. I'm going to do some areas of yellow ochre. I'm sorry, this is raw sienna and Venetian rose. So these are all very spring-like colors. Okay. Now this is a reinterpretation, so I am just using the painting as a color guide. So the outcome is probably going to be very different from the original inspiration piece. But that's okay. That's my intention, is to just to reinterpret the color scheme. So I'm using the color shaper like I would use a palette knife. Okay. Now that I have the basic layout, I am going to even out the areas with my brayer. So I will be doing, since this is a 16 by 20, which is a fairly large plate, I will be working in sections. Okay, I think I have made sure that all the painted areas are more or less flat, because in order to make a successful transfer to paper, the paint has to be more or less even. So again, I'm using my Richardson watercolor paper, which is a 22 by 30. And I will be using the smooth side and as usual, I will leave this on for about 3 to 4 minutes. Okay, let's see how we made out. It left a really nice ghost. I like this a lot. Okay. Now the edges are a little rugged, but that's okay. Let me see how I can reclaim this ghost. This is sand. And a little more raw sienna. So we'll see how this works out. This time I will be using a much wider brayer. Again, I'm trying to even out the paint so there are no really high spots. The application can be thicker than normal, but the important thing is that the surface is more or less even. Now, since this is a heavy application of paint, I'm going to let this sit for a while so that it will activate what's underneath. Because I'm trying to pick up the first layer. So give me a chance to clean up the edges. Now, since I'm trying to pick up a ghost, I'm going to leave this much longer, about 5 minutes. I'm going to take a chance, hoping that this doesn't tear the paper. Okay, it's been about 5 minutes. Now, after 5 minutes, I don't know if you can see this on camera, there is a slight raising of the paper so you can see the outline of the plate. It means that the paper has absorbed the moisture from the gel plate. It's still left quite a bit of paint. This looks almost like an impressionist landscape. I like it. It's still quite a bit. I'm trying to think, what can I use to pick up this? I'll try this burnt sienna. You see, acrylic contains a lot of extenders, and it's the extender that allows me to pick up the ghost. So I'll give it a try. This time I will put a little less paint. Now hopefully this will pick up whatever is left, because I hate to waste a nice ghost print. Okay, it's been about 5-6 minutes. Let's see how we made out. I think it's really worth it to wait because it picked up all the leftover paint. So much so that I have to be careful to pull this so it doesn't tear the paper. Now the texture is very, very delicate. Like I always say, the ghost always wins. Okay, I really like this. Okay, so I will air dry all 3 of these and then I will recap. Okay, everybody, knowing myself, I cannot leave well enough alone. So this is nacreous white or iridescent white. And as you can see, it's really at the end of its life. I am going to mix this, just use it all up, and fill in the rest with some unbleached titanium. So I'm going to use a brush just to scrape off what's left. And just place it in some random spots. Actually, I may have enough just to complete this picture. I just want to make sure I don't include any dried residue like this. Just like the saying, good to the last drop. There we go. So what I will do is just use a brayer and just even it out. So hopefully this very thin veil of iridescent white will give some kind of depth to the piece. Okay, so this is the first pull. Let's see what happens here. So this is an example of taking some inspiration from another artist. But as I continue, the image gets further and further away, but the basic color combination is still there. So it's really a reinterpretation. Okay, let's see how we made out here. Yeah, I like that. I like that extra veil of color. I like that a lot. So the raggedy edges are not as obvious. They're not as distracting because of the additional shapes created by this iridescent white. And a bonus is the shine created by the iridescent nature. Now I looked it up, and the substance that causes the paint to be iridescent are microscopic flecks of mica. Now mica is a mineral. It occurs in nature, and it is used in many, many industries, such as cosmetics and artwork, such as paints. So I will allow all three of these pieces to dry, and I will recap. Okay, everybody, here we are at the last leg of this journey. Here is a close-up of the first pull with the additional layer of iridescent white. And I think it's quite effective. and it adds some additional interest as a contrast to the colorful background. As you can see, the textures are very pronounced because the application of paint is on the heavy side. Now here is the ghost print. Now I decided I'm just going to leave this as is. I do like the minimalist and atmospheric nature of it. Here's a close-up. As you can see, the texture is very much like an oil painting. It's almost like an impressionist landscape. And I really like these tiny flecks of color. So that is the first ghost. There's the second one. The last one. I think I like this one the most. Now I will put this to one side so you can compare it to the inspiration piece. Now here's the other one. And finally, here is the first one. So they're all very different. So I hope you like this inspiration tribute to Helen Frankenthaler. I hope you can look up her biography and her body of work. She is really a very important figure in American art history. And she is also a pioneer in many ways for women artists in a world that is dominated by men. So please pay a visit to artwhisper88.com, and the sales of my pieces help to keep my channel going. Thank you so much, and I hope to see you next time.